NC pork. Good for the plate, great for the state. And it sounds like everybody's mad in the Big Four this year because everybody has a loss to somebody else. Okay, so now it comes down to these last 2 weeks. Carolina has NC State in the finale, and this week against Duke in that 3:30 time slot on the ACC network. And hey, in a few weeks, we're going to see, man, another one of these games, Wake and Duke, right there at the end of the season. Guys, I mean, this is going to be a pretty intense couple of weeks for these coaches. And for Bill Belichick, he just got a real sock in the mouth in his first taste of Tobacco Road head-to-head competitions. Now, how much do you think that that's going to factor into his trying to not only assimilate to the college game, but try to be a part of these rah-rah rivalries and to feel the intensity? I think it's great that he's playing against Duke next, because he knows about Duke. He mentioned Duke at his press conference. So what will that bring out of this coaching staff this week as they try to awaken this zombie team that they have on offense?
He's got a challenge on his hands now. I think the Blue Devils look at it exactly the same way the Tar Heels look at it. There's not a whole lot of love. I'm one of the few guys that have been on both sides of this fence, and so I know how it's looked at on both sides. It's a critical game for both of them. I made a list. I made a list earlier today. The people that need wins to get into a bowl game, and within the conference, Duke needs one. Clemson needs one. North Carolina State needs one. UNC needs two. So these next two games are critical for them, and FSU needs one. But the interesting thing is, I'm glad Coach Belichick is experiencing the Tobacco Road Trail in the North as he goes through in his first year. I think it's great for the conference that all the in-state teams are playing each other like they used to many years. It used to always be, Brew, you know that you always finish with the three in-state schools. And
yes,
I think
sir.
It's great that it's back that way.
Well, I'll tell you what, North Carolina is coming off again another less than stellar offensive performance against Wake Forest. And I'm going to tell you what now, the frying pan gets hot, going and playing Duke this week. Duke played not good football against Virginia this past Saturday. You wonder what they were thinking. It's a home game, but it looked to me like they were kind of sleepwalking. Wasn't sure the crowd was really into it. Jim, you can speak there probably more because you were at the ball game. But it just... I know this. It's a tremendous rivalry. University of North Carolina against Duke University. As you said, Mike, Coach Belichick at his initial press conference talked about the Dukies, talked about playing against Duke. And Coach Belichick's father spent some time, if I'm not mistaken, as a University of North Carolina football coach.
Right.
So he witnessed the game, the rivalry between Duke and North Carolina. And so it's a game that, the victory bell is very, very important. And in recruiting, it's absolutely huge. And so I know this, Coach Brown took tremendous pleasure in bringing that victory bell to North Carolina and having it painted Carolina blue in front of the team.
Who is the number one rival for Carolina football? Was it this week's opponent, the Victory Bell game with Duke, or was it North Carolina NC State?
For 3/4 of the team, it was Duke. Okay, it was
really
Duke. Yes, absolutely. And then there was a faction that really felt strongly about beating State. And so that was really, really important to a lot of kids in the state of North Carolina, because Jim said it. There weren't a lot of kids from North Carolina on the Duke roster. Okay. Duke was a national school. They went out and recruited kids a lot like Stanford did, a lot like Stanford does, And so, but make no mistake about it, we wanted to get after both those teams, Duke and NC State. But I think if you really there's one team that we played for the victory bell, okay, and that victory bell was important to the Tar Heels.
Damn important, and it was important for the Blue Devils. But I've got to say this now. That road down the 90s got a little bit easier for the Tar Heels when Coach Spurrier and us, we packed our shit up, our stuff up, and went to the University of Florida. It got a whole lot easier.
Hey Jim, let me tell you, 100% I agree with you, and there's no question that that's a true statement.
So since we've already gotten onto this, and I do want to come back and talk about the NC State game against Miami and the pains that our Wolfpack friends are finding here in the late part of the season. Both Jim and Tim have alluded to, they are in position to make a postseason. But let's talk about your best all-time Carolina Duke rivalry memory, Brewster, because we just heard from Jim Collins about his favorite Duke Carolina memory.
Wow. I mean, there's so many, and I'm going to tell you what, Jim couldn't be more correct. When Coach Spurrier was the head coach at Duke, that was a different deal, man. That was a different deal. And I'm going to tell you what, the truth be known, Mac Brown is from Tennessee, and what did Coach Spurrier call Coach Brown, Jim? He called him something.
You're gonna put me on the spot with that.
I'm just kidding. He called him football,
Mr. Football.
Mr. Football. Yeah. You know.
Now you're gonna get Mac all pissed off at me now.
No. We understand. It's all good.
Oh man.
And it's just out of real respect to Coach Spurrier, because
now I wasn't gonna go down this road this week. I really wasn't. But Jim, you got to tell the story, because Jim Collins, former North Carolina and Duke assistant coach, has been on the field for what I consider to be one of, if not the dominant football moment in the history of the Duke-North Carolina rivalry, because it just spurred so much animosity and may have been responsible.
Now you took a team picture in front of the scoreboard. Huh? Isn't that what you did, Jim?
Well, let me just tell the story.
It gets better, Bruce.
All right.
And the interesting thing is,
I happened to be there for that, Jim.
Oh, you were there?
Yes, sir. For that game, I sure was.
I remember. I'm sorry for blocking the camera, so I'm gonna stir this up a little bit. So, and it just so happens this past weekend, I did attend the UVA game, and I attended it with a guy that was a pretty decent football coach and has the greatest memory ever, and that's one Stephen Orr Spurrier and Miss Jerry Spurrier were in town, so I was with them the entire weekend there. But we had an opportunity at Duke to win the ACC, but we needed to beat the Tar Heels, and we did win. It was, Brew, you can stop your ears up. It was 41-0. And,
hey, put the salt on that thing, man.
So, but the history of that is that we started taking pictures after big wins after we won a game at Maryland much earlier in the season, and Coach Spurrier had told the team that if we beat North Carolina, we'll take a team picture, because it would make us ACC actually co-champions with Virginia, but we don't tell that very often. So the game's over. We all go in the locker room, and we've actually forgotten about taking the picture. So we're in the locker room celebrating all those things, and then the players say, "Coach, we got to take the team picture." So we actually come back out of old Keenan Fieldhouse, is where we were. Oh, the old Fieldhouse was down there. We come out of old Keenan Fieldhouse, come back on the field, and for some unknown reason, I have no idea to this day, for some unknown reason, they had left the scoreboard on, and the scoreboard was on with 41-0 on there. Well, my lovely wife at that time, who has since passed away, was the team photographer. My wife actually took the picture, Brew, of us in front of the scoreboard. So,
God
but
bless.
that story gets even better, because years after that, I come down and I interview for the defensive coordinator's job with John Bunning. I didn't get it, but probably because I was in the interview with Dickie Badur at that time, the athletic director, and he has the damn picture on his wall. He's got the picture on his wall, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself, I hope he doesn't ask me about this. Well, he did. He asked me about it, and I'm as honest as I can be. I said, "Yeah, it had a hell of a win." I said, "My wife took that picture, just so you know that." Well, guess what? I didn't get the job. So, long story short, thanks for asking, Mike. I didn't mind telling that.
I went to Florida, Jim, and I was at Florida for 2 years, and I really spent some quality time. Coach Spurrier was a neighbor to me and my wife, Kathy, and I just have so much admiration for him, and he was such an outstanding guy. There's so, I mean, I'm sitting there in my mind, and it's like in my mind. So, that team picture that y'all took. I mean, I don't know that there's anything that made more of an impact on us at North Carolina than that right there. That was, it was a burning deal, and it was something that I don't think anybody at the Tar Heels ever gave up on, and not remember the fact that the Duke Blue Devils took a team picture in Kenan Stadium in front of a scoreboard that said 41-0, and that was a tough one, man.
This has been Bold North State Football Daily, an exclusive presentation of the North Carolina Sports Network. Make sure you follow us on social media at the NC Sports Net, and check out our website that is wall-to-wall coverage of North Carolina sports at ncsportsnetwork.com. Telling the stories of the Bold North State, this is the North Carolina Sports Network.